Welcome to Hex and Harmony. We are here for episode 12. Yay. 12 whole episodes now that we're doing this thing, which is exciting. And today we want to talk about divination, but instead of just talking about it, I'm going to ask my friends their thoughts on it, and then I'll throw in there too, and we'll have a nice conversation. So, you guys, what comes to mind when you hear the word divination?
Well, for me, divination, I'm kind of answering a different question. What comes to mind when I hear the word divination, seriously, are just the forms of divination.
And that's valid. There's no right or wrong in what comes to your mind. I mean, it's
Okay.
whatever comes to mind. I want to hear that.
Okay.
I'm not
Well,
asking for a definition or anything. I just want to know what comes to
okay.
your mind when you hear the word.
Okay. When I hear the word, I just start picturing tarot cards and runes and pendulums and, Ouija boards and playing cards and a compass and just all the different tools that can be used as for divination.
I'm glad you said Ouija boards because that's like one of the first things I did.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of how you get sucked over to the dark side.
When I think of divination, I think of a means of connecting with information, insights, and ideas that do not have an explanation or rationale that is acceptable for the uh, everyday world. So it can be anything really, because if you are in tune, you can get messages from leaves, from branches, from clouds. So it's anything that you can get a message from that is beyond the normal senses.
Right, and you kind of went into what it is in terms of what the first thing is you think about. So take and tell me how you define it.
Well, I define divination as a way of connecting with multiple things. You could be tapping into your higher self or to the collective mind of the universe. If you follow Carl Jung and the collective unconsciousness, you could be tapping into that. You could be communicating with a spirit guide or your own higher spirit, but it's just a way of receiving guidance, encouragement, messages from the other. I want to say from the divine, but it may not necessarily be. People define that word very differently too, but that's what it is to me, is receiving messages from the divine.
Yeah, I kind of go with that too. It's like receiving messages from a different source, and yeah, it can be the divine, however you define that, or it could be from something that's not divine as well. But for me anyway, any type of way you receive a message that isn't like reading a book or talking to someone or doing research, like a physical way of getting information. If it's something other than a physical way of getting information, that you receive information, to me, that's divination. And there are forms that can take that people might not consider to be divination, but I would consider it to be based on my definition. So, like, for instance, prayer, and that's another word that people can define different ways, whatever,
Mhm.
however you define that. To me, that's a form of divination because you're getting a message through a means that is not a physical way of getting that information. Or you could get information that way anyway. I mean, depending on how you define prayer, you might not get information. You could just be giving information to somebody else, whether that be divine or not, whatever. But I'm not going to go into all that because that gets into like whole religious overtones, which is not the whole point of this. That just goes into different ways that people define words, and that's one of those words that people define different ways. But for me, yeah, divination is just a way to receive information. It's not a physical way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can get on board with that definition.
Because I tend to ramble a lot of times when I get into things, and then I'm like, wait, am I just rambling? And that doesn't even make any sense. And the person's like, that's a load of crap.
No, I can go with your definition. I think it's a good broad definition. It's just getting information from a non-physical source, from, a psychic
Yeah,
source or whatever.
yeah. And then psychic's another word that people define different. That's just language in general, I guess. Different people define words in different ways. So, yeah. So now that we all agree or don't agree or whatever on what divination is, we're going to go with it anyway, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I want to hear y'all's personal stories with how you got started with it. Um, and if you still practice it, which I know y'all do, and y'all know I do because friends, and that's how we roll. But tell me how it plays a role in your life today. Not like today as in this specific day, but in general today, and how you got started with divination.
I got started when, once upon a time, I was young. I used to just feel things. I would probably say under 8 at some point in time. I would feel things and um, see things, and I would put a feeling or a dialogue to what it was I was feeling.
Well, that blows my story out of the water.
Nothing blows anybody's story out of the water, okay?
I mean, I guess, I guess the first time I officially tried divination was probably around age 13 when my best friend and I were playing with the Ouija board. And, you've got to remember I was 13, so I know everybody's going to have strong feelings. But I was 13. We were kids and we were playing with the Ouija board and contacted some spirit, and he told us his name and he told us things on the Ouija board. And, I don't mess with Ouija boards now because I think that they can draw in low spirits that maybe they don't have your best interest at heart. But I also have to say another caveat is that I don't think divination is actually going to tell you the future, but I will say that some of the things that spirit said to me actually came true even 20 years later. Some of the things that it said actually happened, and I didn't find out about them or couldn't validate them until 20 years later, but they were 100% on the mark. So that was really the first time I actively went out and tried to do divination. After that, I was probably 15 or 16 when a friend of mine gave me my first deck of tarot cards. And there is a big rumor and a big myth that says tarot cards don't work unless they're given to you by a witch. That is so not true.
Yeah,
But back
exactly. That's propaganda. Nobody needs
yeah,
that.
it is. But at the time when I was 15 or 16, I guess we kind of believed that. And so a friend of mine who was a practicing witch gave me my first set of tarot cards.
That's pretty cool. I know there's also stories that go around in addition to a witch has to give you your first deck of oracle cards, that you can't get a deck or tarot cards, oracle cards, whatever. You can't like have somebody gift them to you. You have to choose them yourself. And I'm like, yeah, that's bull too. It's like, whatever. You can do whatever you want. You can go in a store and pick them. They can be given to you. You can whatever. It's a deck of cards, for crying out loud. And
Exactly.
you're gonna have the same message no matter how they come into your life. I mean,
Right.
it's just a deck of cards. But my first foray into divination, I guess I'll say my first, because I'm sure there might have been more before this that I just don't remember, because there's a lot of things from my childhood I just don't remember for whatever reason. But the first time I remember, I was also around 13. I might have been 12, might have been 14, but somewhere around in there. I was at my friend's house and we were playing with the Ouija board. And what I remember about this is her father was a pastor, and we were having a sleepover at her house, and we got up in the middle of the night, like preteen girls do, whatever, early teen girls, and there was like 3 or 4 of us. I don't remember exactly, but we got it in our head we were going to play with the Ouija board. But of course, she didn't have one because her dad was a preacher, and none of us had one. So we made one out of paper. We like cut up the paper and like wrote letters on the paper and set it out, and like A to Z, yes, no, 1 through 9 and 0 and whatever, and then made our own little planchette with paper and played with it. Did we get a message? I don't know. That was a long time ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. But yeah, that was the first time I remember doing anything like that. I don't use a Ouija board now, not because I wouldn't. I just don't really have anyone that I would do it with, and I'm not going to do it by myself, kind of thing. If I were going to use a spirit board, I would want to do a lot of grounding and protection beforehand, but it's not something I do now. It's not part of my practice. Is it something I would do in the future? Sure, maybe. I don't know. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but my most often used forms of divination now are tarot and oracle cards and pendulum reading, and mirror scrying as well. So yeah. Although I sometimes do scrying with other things like water, if I don't have a mirror around and have like a bowl or a glass of water or something, I might do that. Or candle gazing. I do that frequently. Um, Probably not as frequently as cards, but pretty frequently, especially in the winter when it's so dark outside early. That's when I usually find myself doing candle gazing and getting messages that way. So I would say in the winter, candle gazing is probably one of my favorite things to do as a form of divination. But cards are always a good way because there's always a message there. And I think that tarot and oracle cards are very psychological. It's not like fortune telling. It's not something that, like you said, Tegan, that it's telling your future exactly what's going to happen. And oh my gosh, I could go into a whole long diatribe about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and how it's illegal, and that fortune telling in Pennsylvania is illegal. And I'm not kidding. In
Are you serious?
25, oh gosh, it's been all over the news the last several years, and I have a friend in this county where I live in one of the towns that the police actually came to her place of business and gave her a citation for
Wow.
telling or reading tarot cards.
Wow.
There is one legislator in the state legislature now who's trying to get the law repealed that tarot or fortune telling of any kind is not illegal in Pennsylvania. Not yet, but they're working on it. So,
Oh my
Wow.
God. It's like crazy.
it's been dubbed the Hanover witch hunt. So yeah, look that up. I'll find some links to that and put it in the show notes of this episode
Oh
too.
my
Yeah, it's
God.
been a big thing the last several years. Yeah, good times in 2020 in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I have
Wow.
never heard of that.
Uh, not making it up. You couldn't make this stuff up.
No, you can't make that up. Oh my gosh.
You can't make this stuff up.
Whew.
The Hanover witch trials, all kinds of stuff. Real thing happening in the 2020s. Oh, gotta love it. So,
Yeah.
I mentioned the tools I use frequently. What are some things y'all do besides using cards?
I love to fire scry.
Yep.
And like I don't now, but I used to have a fireplace, and I would have a fire going in the middle of July in the fireplace just to fire scry. And now, like outside, a little, everybody knows I live in the woods, so just like a little bonfire outside, not a big one, because I do love fire scrying. And I also have the tarot, and I love the pendulum. And I mean, those are the top main ones that I guess I would use. And, I think, I don't know, I mean, I guess technically it is a form of divination, when you ask for messages or you interpret messages that are sent to you. Like, I told the story once about walking out of my house and my whole front step was covered with honeysuckle and jasmine petals and stuff like that. But, if you don't count those kind of things, which I think are just messages sent,
But messages sent are a form of receiving information. So, I mean, it could be, it could, and then at the same time, it could not be considered. I guess if you consider just divination being getting messages from a non-physical form or like a non-physical way when you're not necessarily looking for it, like with tarot or scrying, you're looking for a message. And
exactly.
if a message comes through and you weren't looking for it, but it shows up and you recognize it, is it still divination? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, to me, I don't technically describe that as divination. I mean, to me, those are just messages. I wasn't seeking information, but someone is trying to send me a message or do something. I don't think of that. I think of divination more as you actively trying to get answers on something and trying to divine the answers in some way.
So then would channeling be divination if you're like actively opening yourself as a channel to receive a message, or as opposed to if you're not and it just happens? Would either one of those be considered divination? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Either one of you.
I would say both would be, because sometimes, you might intentionally looking for an answer or a sign or uh, whatever. And, you might do something to get this information, or, might not go through an elaborate ritual to get the information. But sometimes you're walking down the street and You know, something just comes to you that is a response to something, or it just something that you need to know. That it could be either way.
I don't know. I don't know, but to me, the channeling is usually to provide information to someone other than yourself. Like if someone opens themselves up as a channel, it's usually to broadcast a message for someone else. It's very rare in my experience. It might go on all the time and I don't know anything about it, but I would think that actually channeling some kind of spirit, and if they did it without my permission, then there would be some hell to pay, I think. But like actually channeling a spirit is to someone wouldn't do that to get their own answers. They would just talk to the spirit, right? I mean, if they were going to actually let that spirit channel through them, it would be so they could provide a message for a different person.
Yeah, when I do it, it's for somebody else. Like I actually have an offer in my business that is channeling, where somebody can sign up and I will send them a letter, like a handwritten letter once a month, and it's a channeled message from spirit to them through me. But I mean, that's, I don't come up with what I'm going to say to them. I just write it out, the message that I get for that
Right.
person.
Right.
Um, yeah, but so that's channeling, my experience channeling, or I've used it on like Facebook before, where something just came to me and it's like, post this on Facebook, whatever, this message. And of course, it's like some heartfelt long thing, and then nobody reads it hardly. But
Oh,
it's not up to me who reads the things that I post, whatever.
right. But the right,
Somebody
even if
needed to hear
only,
it, and whether they react
exactly.
to it or not, if they saw it, whatever, that doesn't matter. But that doesn't happen that often. But it has.
And the right person could read it, 8 months from now. You don't
Exactly.
know,
Exactly. The person it's meant for could not even be connected to me on Facebook when I write it, and then
Right.
a year later we are connected, and then they're scrolling through my page and they see it, and it's like, well, dang, that was for me. Well, I didn't know who it was for. I just had an overwhelming urge to write it, so I wrote it. But yeah, so my experience definitely with channeling is that it's not a divination practice for me or whatever to get answers. It's something that's coming through me for somebody else. Now, maybe
Okay.
you might could consider it divination for the person who is getting the message if they like, maybe not so much the person who randomly reads something on my Facebook page, but the person who signs up for my offer, and I'm specifically writing the letter because they're choosing to get it, so they're seeking a message. Maybe it
hmm
could be divination in that instance. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. There's a lot of gray areas and a lot of subtleties in there.
Yeah. But I don't like do that for just everybody. I don't write those letters for everybody or just send them to anybody. They have to specifically sign up and opt in to get
Right.
it and whatever. So I don't know. I don't know. Just thoughts, random thoughts on divination as we're having a conversation. You never know how the conversation will go. Um,
Right.
let's see. What kinds of questions do you ask, or are you seeking guidance on when you do a divination reading, or are you just looking for general guidance?
A
For
lot of
yourself or for
times,
somebody else?
yeah, good question, Daily.
What was that question?
For
I
yourself or
said,
for somebody else?
right.
For yourself. If you're doing divination for yourself, what are you looking for?
It depends. Because sometimes if if I wake up or I'm coming back from somewhere and I'm feeling discombobulated, I might just in general say, okay, well, what message do I need to hear? What do I need to know? Or what energy am I bringing in at the moment? But if, let's say, I'm doing a divination for the month, I'll say something like, okay, what, where am I now? Where was I? And where am I going this month? As an example. So it just depends on if I want a specific answer, I'll ask a specific question. If I'm just checking my energy, I'll just take the message that comes.
I kind of have the same answer. It depends. I mean, it depends on the situation and what's happening. A lot of times I will ask, is there anything I need? I mean, just in general, like, I'm trying to do my daily tarot draw. So, when I do my daily draw, I will say, is there anything I need to know? What message do you have for me, basically? But if I'm dealing with a certain specific situation and I'm doing divination for that, I ask, what information do I need to know? Is there something going on, or is there some hidden motive, or is there some secret whatever that I need to know, something that I'm just overlooking or something that someone is hiding? It could just be I'm not noticing it, or it could be that someone is actually trying to hide it. What is it that I need to know? Or, what is it that I'm not seeing, or what have I not considered yet about this situation? And I mean, I do not ask what's going to happen tomorrow, or, what's it going to be like for me next week. I just say, what energies do I need to be able to prepare for the following week? Maybe what kind of, maybe, what do I need to focus on? Is there some situation or some energy or some protection I need to focus on right now? Those kind of questions is what I would ask in divination, whether it's fire, scrying, or tarot. I mean, the pendulums are usually kind of a yes, no type situation.
Right.
Yeah.
But for the others, for the tarot and for, even a crystal ball or whatever, or, a bowl of water or a black mirror, scrying, I would ask those other types of questions. What is it that I need to know? Is someone hiding the truth? What could possibly help me in this situation? Those kind of things.
And for me, it's the same as what both of y'all have said. It depends on what I'm doing as to what I'm asking, and what I'm asking will determine what method of divination I use. So I'm not going to go into that because y'all summarized it very succinctly, and mine doesn't really change from anything y'all said. But I know we all three read for other people as well as for ourselves. So, in terms of that, what responsibility do you feel that you as a reader have when you're reading for other people? And does that differ when you're reading for yourself?
I think it would be the same for myself as for other people. And if I'm reading for other people, I have a responsibility to tell the truth, but to not color the truth one way or the other, but to I mean, sometimes you have no choice. You have to try to kind of soften the edges when you're reading for other people, but always, always be honest about it.
Right.
And, don't just make up something. If you're trying to do a reading and it's just not coming through and it's not making sense, all you can do is tell them it's not coming through. I mean, I see these cards and this is what they're telling me. I don't understand how they relate to you. Maybe that person will understand, but just being honest about what you see is really the main point. And never, just always trying to soften the sharp edges and leave people with a feeling of value, that they've gained something. I don't want people walking away thinking, oh my God, my future is horrible. This terrible thing is probably going to happen. And the guy I'm in love with doesn't love me back, and the blah, blah, just on and on and on. But I want them to leave with value. Now I have knowledge that I didn't have before.
I agree. I think it's agree. It's the same for me or whoever.
So I agree with y'all, and I do believe that my responsibility to myself is the same as my responsibility to others, but I am a lot of times more lax with reading for myself than I am for others, because I'm like, it's me, you know?
Right.
I might not do all the same things. Like when I'm reading for somebody else, whether it's a card reading, whether it's a pendulum reading, no matter what it is, okay, no matter what it is, I will set aside time before the reading to clear my energy
Exactly.
and to get in the right headspace and the right energetic space before I start the process of divination for that person. But I
Mhm.
don't always do that for myself. Should I?
Right.
Yes,
Mhm.
I should.
Yeah.
But I ain't
Yeah.
gonna lie about it. I don't. I don't always do it for myself. I do sometimes, but I mean, sometimes I don't because it's just me. But I always do that if I'm doing it for somebody else,
Right.
because I don't want to get bogged down in my own head or try to put my own spin on things
Mm-hmm.
for somebody else, which is easy to do if I don't take that time to ground and clear myself and open myself up. Then
Right.
then it is easier to put my own spin on things. But if it's just for myself, it's like it doesn't really matter as much to me if I'm putting my own spin on it because it's for me anyway, kind of deal. So
Well, it does matter to you. I mean, you should.
does. And that's why I said I should do it, and I know
Yeah.
I should do it, and I do it sometimes, but I'm not 100% on it. And so if I'm a little lax, I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world if I'm lax for myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, it does matter, and I should do it. But it's like there are a lot of things I should do that
I
I should eat better all the time, and I don't. I should exercise more, and I don't.
But you should really, at least it takes 2 seconds to just ground and center
Yeah,
before you read it. Because even when you're reading for yourself, if you don't do that grounding and centering first, 2 seconds, I'm not saying a big old 10-minute long thing, just 2 seconds of ground and center, because you could be aggravated with something you just saw on TV. You could be, you
yeah, and I
know,
do. I like take the time to like breathe and calm myself before I do it, but I don't always do the same ritual that I do for other people.
right, right.
So I
No,
mean,
I
I won't say I don't do anything before I read for myself, because I do at least try to get myself out of the headspace of what I was in before but I don't always do the same way, the same ritual, and the same amount of time doing it that I do when I do it for somebody else.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, sometimes, for other people, we want to be extra, extra super ready.
Exactly. Exactly. So in that case, I will breathe. I will try to, if I can, depending on the weather, go outside and put my actual feet on the actual ground with no shoes on and come to center, and I might do some kind of smoke cleansing or sound cleansing or whatever, and do this whole ritual before I read for somebody else. But I don't do all of that if I'm going to read for myself. But I at least do something.
Yeah, I wouldn't do all of that when I'm reading for myself
I
either.
don't just turn the TV off and pull out my cards and go, okay, what is it? Yeah, not that. But I don't go through the whole thing that I do every time I read for somebody else. Because I do, I won't say it's not that I don't care, because I do care about my own reading and my own self, but because I want to take extra care with other people, because I am doing something and I'm getting something from them in exchange, I feel like I need to do all of the things for that person. It's it's kind of like my customer service ritual if I'm doing divination or whatever. It's just the extra care I take for that person as my client.
Right.
I guess that's a way of putting it.
Okay.
It's the customer service, the extra something I put into it for somebody else.
Right.
Like when I go and get a massage or something, I don't expect the massage therapist is doing everything for themselves 100% the same way they're doing it for me. Although they should, but they don't always, because we're human and we don't always do for ourselves the same level that we do for other people, because that's just the way humans are. We
Right.
tend
Well,
to take better care of other people than we do ourselves.
yeah, well, I mean, especially if it's a business. If you have a paying customer, then of course you would pull out all the bells and whistles for them.
Exactly, right? Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't I do all the things for them because they're paying me money? Or whether they're paying me money or not, if they're giving me some kind of exchange, like I have some people that we do an exchange of services or whatever. Like I will do a reading for them and they will do something for me that's something that they do. But even though they're not giving me money, they're giving me something of value to them. And so I'm still going to pull out all the bells and whistles for them.
Right. And that goes back to your question about responsibility. If you're doing divination for someone else, whether they're paying or not, even if it's just a friend of yours that's like, hey, I need you to do a reading for me, you do have the responsibility to give them your best.
Exactly.
Right.
And if I'm just gifting it to somebody because I feel like I want to give them a gift and they're accepting of it, I'm still going to pull out all the stops for them that I wouldn't necessarily do for myself. But yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not, when I get lax, I'm not doing nothing for myself. I'm still doing something, just not the same level of care that I give to other
Right.
people, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when people come to you for divination, even if they don't state it explicitly, there's an implicit trust that they're placing in you, and you have to kind of honor that trust.
And they may not know everything that I'm doing for them when I'm doing it, but I know that I'm doing it.
Right. You know that you're giving them the best reading that you can.
Right. Now, if we're in person, they probably are seeing some of it, depending on where, like how much I do in advance. But a lot of my work is like online and distance work, so they're not seeing what I do. But that doesn't mean I'm not doing it or going to slack on it just because they're not seeing it, because it's going to come through in my reading if I don't do it.
Right. That's
Even
very
if
true.
even if it didn't, or they didn't recognize it, that doesn't matter. I know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that because I care.
Right.
And because I would want somebody else to do it for me if I was going to somebody else. Because I do go to other people. Just because I can do it for myself doesn't mean I do it for myself all the time. Sometimes I pay other people to do it. It's like with Reiki or other forms of energy healing that I do. I don't always do it for myself. I can, but sometimes I go to somebody else. But I know I want the level of care that I give to other people. I want it given to me when I'm the client, when I'm the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're looking for somebody to do reading for you, just get somebody who's going to give you all the levels of care. About all this stuff. Whether you're seeing it or not, doesn't matter. Find somebody who does all the things for you because you deserve it.
Yes.
Oh, let's see. What kinds of questions do y'all not like to answer for people that you're reading for?
I mean, because for me, you're doing a reading or divination or something for someone, and the energy to me, the energy that you're getting is based on what is happening at that moment when you start the reading. So, based on what this person does with the information you provide them, they can continue on in the same manner as when we started, or they can go off on a different path or in a different direction. So questions that are like absolutes or, you know, am I going to get pregnant tomorrow, or um, things of a more personal health related question. I don't, or things that are like, give me the lottery numbers so I can go win the Powerball or whatever, things like that. I don't know.
Can you give us the Powerball? Because I would not object to that if you could like drop me a DM or something.
It's like, I'm psychic and I can give things, but I can't give you the winning lottery number. Sorry. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I don't really, I can't think of any question that would be off limits. People want to know what they want to know, but there are certain situations that the answer I give them may not be the answer they're looking for. For instance, I have it, for instance, like if somebody sat down, someone that I did not know, okay, if it was a stranger, someone I did not know their situation, didn't know anything about them, and they sat down and said, should I leave my husband? There's a lot packed in that question.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would instead, I mean, there's no way in hell I'm going to say yes or no. So I would more, kind of change their question to how should I handle this situation? Let's dig into your feelings and why you feel this way and get you information that can help you make a decision. I'm not going to tell you yes or no. And that's just an example, but those kinds of questions, I'm not going to give you advice, yes or no. Should I leave my husband, or should I marry this guy, or should I invest $500,000 in that stock? I mean, I'm not going to answer that question,
Right.
but I will try to get beneath the question to where the question is coming from and try to address those issues.
Yeah, the only things I won't answer pretty much are yes and no questions, because I call those the absolutes. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for a yes, absolutely, you should do this, or no, absolutely, you should not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when people, and I tell people up front, don't ask a yes or no question, ask an open ended question. And if they
Right.
still ask a yes or no question, they're going to get an answer that's like, if this, then that. Because
Right.
they don't answer yes and no questions. Like I had somebody recently who asked me a question that was a yes or no question. And my response was, if you're willing to do this, then yes, you should do that. And she's like, well, that leaves it open to interpretation. And I'm like, yeah, it does.
What do you think
Right.
this is?
I'm like, there is no yes or no in this. It's like, I can't tell you if you're willing to put in the work or if you're willing to do whatever it is in relation to your question. But if you are, then yes, you should do it because whatever. But if no, you're not willing, then no, you shouldn't. So,
Right.
and that's why I tell people up front, don't ask when you're coming to me, don't ask a yes or no question because it depends. It depends on what
Mm-hmm.
you're willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you ask a question that's not a yes or no question, if you ask an open ended question and I give you a response from whatever tool I'm using, it's coming from somewhere. But still, it's open to you if you want to receive it and act on it. Just because I'm telling you what the cards say or what spirit is saying or whatever, depending on whatever tool I'm using, I can tell you what I'm seeing, but it's up to you whether you're accepting it and acting on it or not. And if you don't act on what I'm telling you that I'm getting, that doesn't mean the divination was wrong. It means you weren't willing to follow through with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't answer yes and no questions. And if somebody asks me a yes or no question, they're going to get a if this, then that response.
right. There's a lot of people who just don't want the responsibility of a decision. So they want somebody else to tell them yes or no, either do this or do that. And
Right.
that's not what divination is for. Divination is to help you make your decision,
Right,
but not
Right.
to make your decision for you.
Right.
right. So it's like if you want me to give you a yes or no answer, then you need something that's not divination. You need another thing where we can sit down and talk through the different options to find the one that's best for you, but that's not divination.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I do that too, but that's not divination. So, yeah, that's the only really questions I won't answer. I'll answer just about anything else because it's not me answering really. It's just me tapping into a resource to give you information that you already know deep down. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really what I think about any divinatory tool. It's not telling you something you don't already know. It's very psychological. It's just we don't
Mm-hmm.
always recognize in our minds
Mm-hmm.
the things because there's so much competing information. So divination is a tool to get through all the muck and to recognize what we already know.
Right. Or to bring to the surface things in your subconscious that you don't know,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. So a couple of fun questions and then we'll wrap up because we've been going for a while. But what is your favorite deck or tool? If you prefer cards, what is your favorite deck? Or if it's anything and not card specific, what's your favorite tool for divination?
I mean, I do a lot of things. It just depends on the end game. Um, so I don't have a favorite per se because it depends on the situation. But I was looking at my decks the other day, and they they're for each of them are for different purposes. I don't have a particularly favorite deck because some of them are used for different things. I would say maybe my animal decks are more up in the top 5, I would say.
Oh my God, my animal decks are the ones I go to most often.
My favorite deck, I think I might have even talked about it in a different episode. So I don't want to go into too much boring, I don't want to rehash old stuff. But my favorite deck is the Llewellyn Tarot. And it is a mass produced, market deck that you could just go in and buy at most stores. But because it's all centered around a very Welsh theme, and it's really pretty watercolor paintings and stuff. That's my favorite deck.
That sounds pretty. So have
It
you
is.
ever pulled a tarot card and ignored the message, like for yourself? Ever pulled a card for yourself, didn't like the message, so you ignored it, and then you regretted ignoring it?
Yes. That's my That's my answer. The truth was staring me right in the face and I ignored it. And yes, then I did regret it. I was like, I knew this already. The cards told me this. And I could have really saved myself a lot of hassle if I would have just listened to the wisdom that someone was trying to impart to me. And yes, so my answer is yes.
Definite yes. No details, just yes.
I would say I don't think so, because when I started using cards, I was doing a lot of information, and one of the things that was mentioned in a lot of people as they were explaining how to use them is if you don't get a card that is the answer that you want, you can't just keep picking until you get one that you like. So, but what sometimes I will do is, like sometimes if I do a reading and it may not be my preference, I'll do another one to like clarify. Oh, okay, now I get what you're saying. But I don't like disregard that kind of thing.
I like that. Clarifying messages.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What is your favorite card in the tarot and why?
It's really funny because I actually was having this conversation with a friend of mine earlier today. And I hate to play favorites. I love all the little cards, I love them all equally, but if I had to pick a favorite, I have two. The Ten of Cups, because it's just so happy. It's like a happy, fulfilled ending to something, whatever the situation is. It's like happiness and contentment and fulfillment of a goal or of a quest or whatever. And I also like the Tower.
Mhm.
Why do you like the tower?
The Tower because it signifies change. It's a scary card when people see it and when you think about it because it um, signifies like a destructive change, tearing down the old things so that new and better things can take its place. And I think if you look at it in the light of spiritual growth or of just life changes, I think that's a very positive thing, getting rid of the old things that don't work and replacing it and rebuilding, the new structure that does work in your life, that was meant for your life. I think it is a scary card, but I think overall, in the big picture of things, it's a very positive card and a very encouraging card.
Bailey, what's your favorite?
Um, I like death.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. Which is funny because that's my favorite one too.
Death.
We are so much alike.
I know. Because I actually like the tower too.
I do too.
So I like death for one because it's my number. Um, so because I'm kind of dark actually. So I like that stuff. But I think, a lot of people who don't understand tarot, they don't understand, well, where I'm coming from. It's more of a transformation as opposed to, you know, I mean, a part of you is dying in a respect, but it's not like the actual physical death. It's spiritual, soulful transformation into something new. And I like magic, so this one has to be.
I feel like I don't want to carry things into my future that are dead weight. Okay.
Mm,
And
Mhm.
everything changes. Nothing stays the same. That's the
yeah.
only constant in life is one, we're all going to die. But that's not even what the card's about. I mean,
Right,
it could be, but rarely is it ever a
right,
card that means you're dying.
right,
But even if it does, okay, big deal. We're all dying from the moment that, we're born, we're dying because we're all going to die at some point. But I don't say that to be dark or grim, although I'm dark too. Which, when you said you're a dark person, it made me think earlier this year I was collaborating with somebody on
Mhm.
something for our businesses, and she's like, yeah, we just got to figure out how to do this because I'm very sunny and bright and you're really dark and like nighttime energy. I'm like, I know, right? So yeah, I, I tend towards dark things and whatever, but that's not even why I like the death card. I just feel like change is inevitable. Nothing's going to
Mhm.
stay the same. The pendulum is always swinging from one side to the other. And if things are changing and moving forward, I can't hold on to the past because it's just going to
Mhm.
weigh me down. And even if I like the past and I don't want it to change, it's still going to change. And the only thing I'm doing by holding on to it is weighing myself down.
Right,
And that's not bringing me any positive anything going forward. So when I draw the death card, it's an opportunity for me to examine what in my life is dead or dying that I need to let go of so that I can be the best version of myself going forward, because that's what I want to be. I don't want to be the worst version of me. I don't want to be the
Mhm.
comfortable version of me. I don't want to be the safe version of me. I want to be the best version of me. And I can't do that and hold on to the things that are dead or dying. Can
right.
I enjoy memories? Sure, I can. Can I talk about the beauty of the past? Absolutely. But I can't force my future to be defined by my past because that's going to stunt my growth. And all I want to do in my life is to become a better person. And I can't
Right.
do that holding on to the things that are dead or the things that are dying. I have to either let it go if it's already dead or be in the process of letting it go if it's dying. And a lot of times that card helps me to realize what those things are that I need to let go of. And that's why I like it. To me, it's a card of hope.
Yeah.
That's very well
Yeah.
said.
Oh, yay. People look at me when I say that like I'm an alien from another planet. I'm glad to know y'all get me. in my dark little heart.
Well, you say it's dark, but it's not. It's a
It's
vision
really
of hope.
hopeful.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, why would I want to carry around a corpse behind me and drag it along into my future? I mean, that's not cool. I mean,
Not at
that's
all.
just like,
Yeah.
that's too dark. I don't want to do that. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I am a dark person and have a dark heart and a dark sense of humor, but I don't want to cart a dead body around with me for the rest of my life either. So,
I mean, that's why you prune a plant, or you prune,
exactly.
your garden, because you have to get rid of the dead pieces because they will inhibit the new things from coming in. That's very, 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 very similar to the tower. The message of the tower is, the dead, useless things are going to inhibit the new good things from coming into your life.
And I could just go on a whole ramble with that in our current state of affairs. I am not going to do that.
Lord,
I am not
no.
going to do that. Namaste. Oh, so I think that's going to about wrap us up on our episode about divination. And I mean, I've had a blast with this. I don't know about y'all, but
Oh,
this
yeah,
has
definitely.
been very
This is
fun
good.
for me, and I've enjoyed it.
Yes, we want all of our listeners to write in and tell us what their thoughts are on the questions that Michelle asked today, too.
Yes, I would love to hear everybody's opinions and weigh-ins on this, because these are some fun topics and some get to know you type things, because everybody has a different viewpoint on this, especially that last question, what's your favorite tarot card?
Right.
I want to know if you agree with us that the Tower and Death are really positive, great cards. I won't go so far as to say sunshine and roses, but
Right.
No.
um, yeah, it's clearing the way for sunshine and roses at least. But what are your thoughts, everybody listening to us right now? Just let us know,
Right.
send us a message, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. But that's going to wrap it up for now on episode 12. And for a little sneak peek of next time, Tegan is going to lead us in talking about all things with the number 13 for our 13th episode.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
13 and superstitions for episode 13.
That's going to be fun. But thank you
Yep.
for being here. Thank you, ladies, for being with me tonight. I've enjoyed it. And until next time, bye.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.